I'm Marty Stouffer. We all think of ourselves as Americans, but what does that really mean? I'm part Norwegian, part Scotch-Irish, and part Greek. But I was born here, and I would never want to live anywhere else. So I'm proud to call myself an American. This land first belonged to the Indians, though, and to the wild creatures that roamed its forests, waters, and skies. The sight of a bald eagle gives many of us a feeling of pride in the strength and freedom of our country. But what makes a wild animal an American? Some have ancient claims to being original citizens. Others, though we think of them as belonging here, are not natives. They're imports, just like most of us. I'd like to show you some of the fascinating creatures that I think of as all-American animals. Before continents as we know them had formed, primitive life began in ancient seas. The first creatures that evolved were not very specialized. But as climates changed and land masses arose, slowly each continent developed its own unique plants and animals. First reptiles, then finally mammals, ruled our North American continent. Most early species have long since disappeared, but the pronghorn has been fully evolved for almost 2 million years. And they are still with us today, America's oldest natives, unrelated to any other animal. The pronghorn's main secret of survival is its phenomenal speed, up to 70 miles an hour. No animal in North America, and few anywhere, can match it. Both males and females have horns, which they shed each year. They are the only horned animals to do so. The males sometimes use theirs in playful sparring contests. If the bald eagle and the pronghorn both seem like natural all-American contenders, one of the more unlikely candidates is the opossum, sometimes called the Virginia opossum, or usually just possum. It's found from Florida northward through all the eastern states into New Hampshire and Maine. It's been introduced as far west as Washington and Oregon, and its range is still expanding. Though its food habits bring it close to man, it goes unnoticed because it is active mainly at night. During the day, its den is often in a hollow tree, such as this one in Arkansas. Although not a high flyer or a swift runner, the opossum has many characteristics that make its life story as fascinating as that of any other American animal. For one thing, it heads the list of North American mammals as our only marsupial. Like Australia's kangaroo and koala, the female possum has a pouch in which her young finish their early development. For another, the hind feet have a clawless big toe, which is opposable, just like our thumb. Opossums are the only non-primate which have this feature. They also have 50 teeth, more than any other mammal. With all these teeth showing, it's hard to tell if this behavior is playing or fighting. But during the mating season, as with most animals, there's usually a little of both. The scientific name of the opossum family is Didelphus, which means double wound. In marsupials, the rectum and vagina are combined into a single opening. The female's two oviducts branch out to the right and left sides of this cloaca. This accounts for the unusual forked shape nature has given to the male's penis. Stories from old folklore tell us that mating took place in the female's nostrils, and that she later breathed her babies into her pouch. Like most old wives' tales, this one is obviously not true. Possums breed the same way that most other mammals do, and the male's penis is shaped to serve the female's double uterus. Over the southern part of its range, opossums produce 2 litters each year. The breeding season begins in January and may last into late September. They are polygamous, and the male will breed with any female that he finds receptive. Opossums are normally very cautious and slow-moving animals. This is about as active as I've ever seen them. With their opposable toes and prehensile tails, they're as much at home in the treetops as they are on the ground. That is, most of the time. With an extremely short gestation period of 13 days, it's time to find a safe den. The pouch is cleaned as the female senses the onset of birth. For a mother opossum, labor is not long or difficult. Marsupial young are born while still in an embryonic stage of development. These tiny babies are smaller than honeybees. As many as 20 of them may be born in a few minutes. They look so helpless. How will they ever reach the safe destination of their mother's pouch? Unlike other mammals, which are born attached to an umbilical cord, the young possums are floating free inside the uterus. The mucus layer could suffocate them now. Instinctively, the mother licks it away. At this stage, the hind legs are hardly present, but the tiny forelegs are already well developed, complete with claws that may aid in reaching the pouch. Some won't make it. Until quite recently, it was thought that the young were born directly into the pouch, or that the mother used her mouth to put them there. But now we know that the young emerge with the unique instinct to migrate, hand over hand, through the mother's fur, their longest journey. Here it's first come, first served. There are only 13 nipples in the pouch, and only 13 babies will find a place in this natural incubator to feed and grow. There is no taking turns. Each nipple swells to fill the mouth of the baby lucky enough to find it. The young become firmly attached. And here they stay fastened for about 4 or 5 weeks. Special muscles allow the mother to close up her pouch like a purse. By the end of 2 months, the young have opened their eyes, grown fur, and are about the size of mice. Though still dependent on the mother, they now venture outside the pouch, all of them trying to crowd back in at once if frightened. As they grow older and braver, they begin to ride around on the outside, clinging to their mother's fur. Gradually, some of them get left behind. 3 months of age. Ready or not, they're on their own. Among my favorite all-American birds is the scissor-tailed flycatcher. Its breeding grounds are in our central and southwestern states, but it has been known to wander as far east as Massachusetts. Whether courting, catching insects on the wing, or just soaring for the playful pleasure of it, these birds are true artists of the air and true Americans. Many of the living things that we think of as native are actually imports. Tumbleweed, or Russian thistle, has rolled over our plains ever since it was introduced by settlers traveling west in covered wagons. Some animal immigrants, like the ringneck pheasant, have become almost as much natives as their predators. These coyotes have caught the scent of something appetizing, and they're not about to give up easily. Many species have been turned loose in this country to provide sport for hunters. Sometimes they quickly die out, but sometimes they threaten or even displace native populations. The ringneck pheasant has thrived to fill ecological niches left vacant by native game birds that had already been decimated by man. And it provides good eating for the coyote, prairie falcon, and badger. For toughest all-American animal, my vote would have to go to the peccary of our southwestern states. Any creature that can thrive on this kind of diet shows a lot of native spirit. These wild hogs, on the other hand, are not natives at all. Descendants of animals that escaped from farmers or were released, they infest the woodlands of Kentucky, Tennessee, the Carolinas, and other southeastern states. Their constant rooting can do considerable damage to forests and fields. Because we have killed off all our large predators, like cougars and wolves in the east, they have almost no natural enemies. Even the male bobcat is too small to be a serious threat to these half-grown piglets. It seems cautious, as if it knows all about their thick hides and about the mother's sharp teeth. Meanwhile, the female bobcat approaches the problem from a different angle. But not even these normally fierce cats are willing to test the mother hog's protective instincts. There are other conflicts between natives and newcomers. Beautiful as swans are, some of them are creating problems for original American species. These are mute swans, natives of Europe. Introduced to America during colonial days, they have established themselves as lords of the lake in New England and New Jersey, in Michigan, and here on the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland. More aggressive than other swans, they drive out the native whistling or tundra swans that preceded them here by many generations. Their long necks allow them to feed underwater to a depth that leaves other waterfowl with little to eat. They are also more prolific than the other swans, and where they have established successful populations, they usually have done so at the expense of other wildlife, ducks and geese especially, and even turtles, fish, and frogs. Further west, where mute swans have not intruded, the call of our native swans still echoes over cold water lakes. America is composed of many nationalities, which we welcome with open arms. But in the case of wildlife, we should remember that it has taken many, many centuries for our native species to achieve the balance that gives America such a splendid and fragile wild heritage. I've lived with wildlife in many countries, in Africa, Europe, even in the South Pacific. From the most rugged, dirty bush camps to the fanciest hotels, I've seen a lot of places. But for me, there really is no place like home. From sea to sea, America's mountains, deserts, forests, and plains are as magnificent as any on earth. There are many reasons to appreciate our country, and one of the things I love most about it is the special beauty and rich variety of our all-American animals. I'm Marty Stouffer. Until next time, enjoy our wild America.